Well, I can't believe that this is actually something that I'm very happy to be reporting on. So, hey everyone, this is Kevin, the Entrepreneur. Thank you for joining my media channel. And let's talk about this Crunchyroll sale that is now in serious jeopardy. As you saw in the previous clip, I previously reported that Sony was going to be buying Crunchyroll from Warner Media, AT&T, for some $1.7 billion or something like that. It was an astronomical amount. And some people thought that that amount was crazy. Like, why would you spend that much money for a website or an app that basically dwarfs all the competition? And the reason for that was pretty simple. It's because anime is, it's big business now. Granted, it's a niche product, but it's a very big niche product. You have very, very dedicated fans who will sign up for a separate service just for their anime. Now, I thought that AT&T would use Crunchyroll and discontinue the Crunchyroll app and move it all into HBO Max. They do have a Crunchyroll tab in HBO Max after all. But because of all the debt that AT&T is in, and maybe because anime is just too niche for them, they decided to sell Crunchyroll. Now, Sony has Aniplex. They bought 95% of Funimation, and they bought a couple other anime companies who I can't think of at the moment. And they basically had a pretty close to monopoly in the United States. In fact, if you want to know how much of a monopoly Funimation themselves have, or at least what hold they have on the anime industry, when all companies out there, whether they be Crunchyroll, Viz Media, Tokyo Pop, who kinda does anime still, Sentai Filmworks, when any of them decide whether or not they want to pick up a title at first, you want to know what the first question they ask is? Does Funimation want it? Because Funimation is just that big. If Funimation wants it, it's usually not even worth bidding on because Funimation has Sony money. And Sony decided, you know what? The anime industry is worth this much money. If we can get a controlling interest in that, we can basically dominate. And if they bought Crunchyroll, I think it would be fair to say that Sony would control 85% of the Western market. And as you saw in those previous clips that I showed, I was very concerned about the implications of that. Imagine going to Anime Expo, big anime convention, and you see Dragon Ball characters, you see Tenchi Muyo character cosplays, I should say. You see Card Captor Sakura. You see Princess Nine. You see Case Closed, aka Detective Conan. You see Samurai 7. And you just see all these anime characters. And imagine all these cosplaying characters and merchandise you buy from these conventions. One company distributes 85% of the shows that you consume, that you come to this convention for. That gives them an enormous amount of power. And I was terrified of it because you know what? This isn't like AT&T gobbling up Warner Brothers. This isn't like, actually, in a very much way it is. It's very much like AT&T gobbling up Warner Brothers and Disney absorbing Fox. But here's the thing. The Department of Justice didn't have any issue with that. I mean, or at least they kind of did, but ultimately those things were allowed to go through. And I felt that, no one's going to pay attention to the anime industry in America. But that's where I was completely wrong. And I'm very glad I was wrong about that, because Sony's purchase of Crunchyroll has been delayed following a probe by the Department of Justice. Now, this is from Cartoon Brew. And Cartoon Brew is actually regurgitating the information from, a site called The Information, who was the first to report it. But here's the thing. So here's what the article says. In December, after months of rumors, it was announced that Sony's Funimation Global Group would buy Crunchyroll for $1.175 billion, subject to regulatory approval. The news prompted a backlash from many anime fans, myself included, who argued that this represented too much consolidation. Funimation and Crunchyroll are the two leading anime streamers in the U.S. Not only the leading anime distributors, they are the anime distributors in the US. I mean, ignore Netflix and Amazon Prime for a second, because yeah, they do have anime, and Netflix is especially investing in anime. But how many anime apps do you think of that are out there? There's a few, but which ones do you have? Chances are it's Crunchyroll. And if it's not Crunchyroll, it's Funimation. I don't know how many people actually have Retro Crush, which is free with commercials, by the way. And I don't know how many people have High Dive Anime, which, by the way, is as Donald Trump would say, a great deal, a really great deal, because for less than $50, you can get a whole year of unlimited streaming anime commercial free. High Dive. But how many of you actually have it? Probably not many. If you have an anime app, especially one that you subscribe to, it's either Crunchyroll or it's Funimation. It might even be both. And really the difference is, which do you prefer, subbed or dubbed? Because Funimation deals more in the dubbed category, but does have bilingual. So, yeah, that's why anime fans were concerned, because it's like, okay, yeah, they would probably just consolidate, and you'd probably just have a Crunchyroll app, and Funimation would be the home distribution center of things. But the bottom line is, you're now the two biggest companies in the world, the ones that purchase the shows, are now combined, and this is even bad for the Japanese companies, because where there was once a bidding war, now really no one can compete with Funimation, or Sony, I should say. Because you think High Dive or Sentai Filmworks or Discotech Media, do you think they're going to be able to outbid Sony if Sony wants a title to release on their streaming platform? Of course not. And heck, Funimation already kind of engaged in semi-monopolistic practices for years, because Funimation kept the rights to Detective Conan, aka Case Closed, years after they decided they weren't going to continue releasing any more of it. But they did it basically to keep it out of competitors' hands. They basically wanted to wait until the popularity had waned, and then they could feel good about letting it go. My personal opinion. Can't prove it, of course. Anyway, main story. The DOJ is said to be looking into whether Japanese studios would have fewer options for overseas distribution as a result of the merger. They would. Now, I have heard some people like Clownfish TV say that the Japanese studios would probably strike out on their own. There's a golden opportunity for them to do so. And you know what? I don't disagree. I mean, I think the Japanese would kind of be justified in striking out on their own, particularly Toei Animation, who has Dragon Ball, Sailor Moon, One Piece. I think they do Naruto. No, I don't. Actually, maybe they don't do Naruto. But, those are three big titles. They do Digimon, so they could definitely hold their own. The problem is, I've been an anime fan for a long time, and I remember when, like, for example, Toei Animation decided to make their own DVDs in America. Started, I think, was the Slam Dunk DVDs, and basically messed up the releases. And I hate to say it, but I've worked for Japanese people, and they don't usually understand how the American market works that well, and they tend to mess up their own product way worse than we do. So, not to be prejudiced or anything, the Japanese understand their market, but just because Bandai Visual says, oh, hey, we have a 4-episode OVA series, and in Japan, people pay $40 for a disc of that one episode, let's do that over in America. People in America laugh. They absolutely laugh. It's like, you want us to spend $120 on 4 episodes of an OVA series that was average at best? I completely forgot what this was, by the way. I also know that they charge $70 for Wings of Haname's, a DVD and Blu-ray combo, when most companies are selling DVD Blu-ray combos for $30, $25 on sale. So yeah, I think even though the Japanese could go in on their own, they are still by and large dependent on the American studios, because they know how to sell the product, and in this situation they are going to have a lot less options. And I applaud the DOJ for actually recognizing this. The review could take 6 months or longer, according to the information. After that, the DOJ will either approve the deal or sue to block it. The DOJ did not respond to the information request for comment. Warner Media and Sony have reportedly told the DOJ that there are several other competitors in the global anime streaming market, including Netflix, Amazon, and Hulu. Yeah, but Crunchyroll and Funimation are the anime places. Netflix is investing in their own anime, and they're probably the most aggressive, but Hulu isn't funding their own anime. They're actually taking titles from Funimation and Crunchyroll. Amazon is largely not funding anime anymore. In fact, a lot of the anime that was exclusive to Amazon is now showing up on other streaming sites. So they're not really a factor right now. This idea has also been floated by the Association of Japanese Animations, the Japanese trade body. In its 2019 report, the AJA wrote of Sony Picture Animation's Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Hollywood has finally advanced into the realm of overlapping with the adult animation market that had been Japan's monopoly. If this trend shifts into high gear, the existence of Japanese animation may be questioned again. Sony and its anime subsidiary Aniplex has spent the last 5 years on an anime acquisition spree, snapping up France's Wakanim, Australia's Madman Anime, then Funimation itself buying a 95% stake in the company for $143 million. I bet you Funimation is feeling pretty gypped about that right now, because here they are forking over $1 billion for Crunchyroll, and yeah, Funimation, in my opinion, is worth way more than Crunchyroll. Funimation has exclusive rights to Dragon Ball Z. That alone makes them more powerful. In 2019, all three were merged under the Funimation name, because that's what happens. So I guess Crunchyroll would go away. The anime market in the US is booming, fueled by considerable investment from streaming platforms. In recent years, mass market players, especially Netflix, have muscled into the market. The AJA recently calculated that anime industry as a whole grew to a record 2.5112 trillion yen, around $24 billion American dollars in 2019. In fact, here's that article where they say that. Now, will this actually get blocked? I don't know. I mean, the AT&T Warner Media sale didn't get blocked, and it should have. The Disney purchasing Fox didn't get blocked, and that should have. And for that matter, if Comcast tried to buy them too, that should have also been blocked, in my opinion. But at the same time, we were under a different administration back then, and even though I'm not personally blaming Trump for those deals going through, although Trump did call Bob Iger to personally congratulate him on the Fox deal, he did appoint Ajit Pai, who not only was instrumental in taking down net neutrality, he also oversaw taking down the Paramount Decree, took away a lot of restrictions that were very useful in the entertainment industry, and under that administration, this would have probably succeeded. But now we're under a new administration. Hopefully whoever Biden picked to lead this operation will see the danger in letting Sony basically own anime in America. Because I don't think the Japanese have the resources to do this on their own. I don't. I do not think that other competitors can really compete at this point. And I think it's going to be bad for everyone. I think you're going to see an industry where other American distributors basically go away, because if the title is even a little bit of a potential success, Sony is going to grab it under Funimation. Viz Media could actually sincerely go away. Thankfully, they do have Sailor Moon, Inuyasha, and Naruto, so that's something, and their Shonen Jump brand is pretty powerful right now. But they can't compete with a conglomerate owning 95% of the industry. And the Japanese, yeah, they can try, but good luck creating your own streaming service in America when for decades people have basically been going to one or two places this entire time. I mean, look, I highlight High Dive Anime again. For less than $50, less than the cost of a season Blu-ray purchase, you can have access to hundreds of titles, many of them very good, including Nadia, Secret of the Blue Water. That's an excellent title that I finally got to watch because it was on High Dive. But the problem is, again, no one really goes there because they've been so accustomed to going to Crunchyroll and Funimation for so long. That's going to continue, and with Sony basically able to buy even the slightest bit of a hit, High Dive will never have another major hit again. You think Meisani Koku is going to wind up on High Dive? Nope. It's a little bit of a brand name. It's from a famous manga artist, so you know what? Even if it's not profitable for Sony to do so, they will outbid them, and it will go on the Crunchyroll app. And I think it's going to be bad for fans, and I'm glad the DOJ actually seems to recognize that. I mean, just to put this into perspective, if this situation had happened during the DVD boom, basically that meant that DVD sale prices would have gone way up because there's basically only one company making them. But because there were multiple companies back then, certain titles had 2-disc sets. and there'd be 13 episodes for $30, where some shows would be $30 for 4 episodes, and vice versa. There'd be some would offer collectible boxes for $5 more. Some would just offer like an outright box set, but it'd do so at a reduced price because it was still cheaper overall. Competition, it works for the consumer, and of course there were bidding wars with the Japanese companies, and so you could see that because, for example, like, here's a funny story. 4Kids Entertainment, who was definitely very popular back then, they wanted Naruto, the anime. They wanted it and they wanted to sell it. But here's the thing. Their most recent, they did Shaman King and Tokyo Mew Mew, and they did a couple animes that really did not do very well. So when the anime creators were looking around, they saw that 4Kids Entertainment, most recent anime shows, had not done that well. But Viz Media had a lot of success with Inuyasha, and so they gave Naruto to Viz Media. Oh, and I also think that 4Kids had that whole One Piece debacle, where One Piece, the biggest show in Japan at the time, was basically nothing in America, not even close to what Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh was. And because of that competition, we got a much better dub of Naruto, and it showed up on Cartoon Network. Now, had it been today, basically, let's say Sony had been the ones making all the 4Kids dubs and there had been no competition, who else do you go to? You go to Sony. They're the only game in town. So I'm glad the DOJ is actually looking at this. I think this is wonderful. But will they actually block the sale? That's another question. So now I ask, what do you guys think? Do you think they will block it, or do you think they're not going to block it? I'd love to know. Comment below. Like, favorite, share, subscribe. And as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.